You're listening to Inspired Caring with Michelle Magner, episode number 122. Hello, welcome to Inspired Caring. I'm your host, Michelle Magner. If you are caring for an older family member, this is the podcast for you. Each week, I bring insight, tips, inspiration, and strategies to help you care for the people that you love without losing yourself along the way. Having cared for both of my grandmothers, I've helped manage everything from hospital stays, households full of belongings, to navigating senior living and end-of-life care. And I've worked in senior living as a result of that experience, serving my residents and their families as they've been on this journey too. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you enjoy this episode of Inspired Caring. All right, you all, let's talk about PTSD from family vacations. I cannot be the only one. In fact, I know I'm not the only one because this keeps coming up with my friends. Is anyone else out there experiencing this PTSD from family vacations with your extended family? I mean, these are supposed to be the experiences that we step into when we travel to these lovely destinations, and we just hope we're going to be feeling all relaxed and more connected, enjoying these wonderful places together. And then we end with this feeling like maybe this trip hurt our relationships more than they helped or fed us. It feels like it just keeps coming up for all of my friends. And it super hit home hardcore for me with our family trip to Colorado in 2022. And I'm going to tell you more about that. But after these trips, this is what I felt and what I'm hearing is you get home from the trip and like you can't imagine reaching out to any of the family members anytime soon. Like not even the debrief phone calls with that one sibling. Like nobody can talk about it. Or you get home from the trip and just energetically, you feel like everyone has gone back to their own corners. You get home from the trip, and when people ask you, hey, how did your trip go? You tell them that you don't feel like you're ready to talk about it yet. Or what about coming home from the trip and thinking, well, I'm never doing that again. 100% said that out loud to my husband after that last trip. And it's happening all over the place. It does not seem to matter who makes up this family unit, who is going on these trips, what the group of people are like. It does not matter if your parents are divorced, remarried, the number of siblings. I'm just hearing these family vacation frustration from people in all different types of family scenarios. So I'm not attached to the idea that I am a special unicorn because of my family situation. But for the fun of it, I thought I would just share a little bit about what my family situation is. So when I was 10, my sister, who was like 6 or 7 at the time, and I moved with our dad from Brooklyn Heights, New York to Berkeley, California, into the house with my soon to be stepmom and her 3 kids and her dad, who we called Granddaddy. And in my adult estimation, upon reflection, they did a super shitty job of integrating our families. Our integration of the families did not support the needs of little old 10-year-old me. And in classic Gen X form, I felt like there was some structure in some areas of our home, but mostly we were left to figure out quite a bit of stuff because the adults were working or just doing their thing. You know, they work 6 days a week, we're doing their thing. And the parents may feel differently, but this is my podcast. It's my podcast. And 14 therapists later, I'm able to articulate this without rage or profound sadness. And about 14, not 14, 4, only 4 coaches later, I understand it is okay to feel how I feel, and I am worthy and whole and deserving of my opinion, which I do not have to apologize for. Also, through coaching, I learned that I get to reframework my childhood to better serve me in adulthood rather than looping continuously on this same old song and dance that has kept me stuck in a way that's not benefiting me in my adult life. I mean, I get to reframework it. So, what a beautiful privilege it is to be a grown up. So, there it is, my friends, the benefits of doing the ongoing work. Because let me tell you, you don't do this work now, you're packing it up and you are taking it into the nursing home with you. I've seen it time and time again. Have you ever heard of moquitas? Moquitas, one of my coaching clients shared that term with me. Papua New Guinea determines the health of their villages based on the number of moquitas present. Moquitas are the things that everyone knows, but no one talks about. And I think there is something truly remarkable about the brain and its ability to jet like everyone back into their childhood roles, regardless of how far we've come, how much we've grown and accomplished and succeeded. Like, whatever that is, we tend to fall back into step about how things were back in the day. Like, he always does this and she never does that. Eckhart Tolle said that if you are feeling so enlightened, go spend a week with your parents. So this is not like an original phenomenon that I've come up with. So moquitas, the health of the village, the fewer moquitas there are, meaning stuff is out in the open, everybody's talking about it, the healthier the village. The more moquitas, just more of this unspoken stuff, the less healthy the village. And granted, in some of our families, some people have not done that much growing. They are stuck, my friends. They are still believing all the old stories. They continue to play out all the same old roles and thought processes. And we have to give those things credit for how they served us, right? They helped us survive our childhoods and keep us going, which ultimately led to where we are today. I don't know what it is, but some parents seem to delight in bringing up the teenage shenanigans, like a shiny badge of honor that they have that they survived that, even though these people are in their 70s and 80s now. And even though we're now accomplished 40 and 50-year-olds, there's like 4 decades of water under that proverbial bridge. Yes, I felt very clever coming up with that. So a year ago, the Colorado trip, we were planning this vacation and my this was actually a different vacation, but a year ago my sister and I were talking about a family vacation and she brought up to me how controlling I am around trying to overschedule everyone every single day. That's what my sister said to me, which was a brave thing to do. I mean, props to Rach. And I had the chutzpah to say, hey, wait a minute. I actually haven't been that way in a long time, in a while. And I felt like, again, my podcast, she can come in and we can dialogue about it. But I felt like I was able to calmly and articulately explain and show examples of my newfound growth and mindset and flexibility. And we were able to, and she actually gave me recognition. She's like, you know what? You're right. I do see that. Now, that being said, I do believe that there is value in having one optional activity on the calendar each day. I'm not attached to who participates besides my kids. But other than that, I do think that is helpful. More on that in a minute. So, Colorado. 2022. It was a little different than our extended big family vacations before because over the last 9 years, we have mostly gone to the same place in Lake Tahoe. And we had spent years as siblings with our children, there's 5 of us, fine tuning how to make this system work for our group of 22 people. And we had fallen step into some new patterns and routines that really it seemed to work best for the most people. And that place was not available for our trip. So we all voted to go to Colorado. The first red flag for me should have been that no one really wanted to talk too much about planning before we got there. And my stepmom, who had carefully coordinated and orchestrated things in the past, just wasn't up for it. So I was like trying to get people to vote on things, and I did a spreadsheet, a Google thing, and it was like kind of slim pickings at the beginning. Finally, everyone put stuff in, but it got messy, y'all. And my stepmom just was like, I can't coordinate all this. So in typical Michelle fashion, I tried to cheerlead, organize, and people please my way through some pre-planning, which very few people were interested in doing. What this led to, of course, were multiple episodes because nobody wanted to do the pre-planning. So we found ourselves there and trying to determine at the beginning of the day or the evening the night before what to do. So it led to multiple episodes of group paralysis and not having like specific spaces or one daily event that really like brought us all together, and also like time frame options to do whatever felt best for each family on each day. So it to me, my perspective felt very complicated very fast. So basically, I immediately fell back into Michelle circa 1990 energy. And this may or may not have set off the waterfall of everyone else falling back into their roles. But by the end of this trip, I was so grateful that all of our kids had really had a wonderful time hanging out together and connecting with each other. Like the kids all had such a good time. There's 9 grandkids and they're all just stacked in age. But me, I was like emotionally spent. I had a full blown breakdown on our last day in these beautiful mountains because I was without transportation, not hanging out with my immediate family, and nothing about the day was lining up in any way, shape, or form for me, while everyone else seemed to be off doing what they wanted to do that afternoon, that day. Like everybody else seemed happy, but I was feeling completely despondent at this point about the whole trip. And I will never forget as we were driving out of the foothills of Breckenridge in Colorado, I felt like I literally took a giant deep breath. And when I exhaled, my brain clicked back into gear of who I am, what my values are, how to feel aligned, and how to take care of myself. And I was like, oh, hey girl, hello, welcome back. It literally felt like I woke up. Like I had been in this weird dreamlike autopilot days for those days. And then I woke up. And I've thought a lot about this trip and what could have made it better for me. Because best I could tell, also, I couldn't really gauge that other people were having the time of their life either. And as I've listened to stories of my friends who have had similar, seemingly disastrous family vacations where everyone gets home and basically goes to their corners, I just thought I would share with you some of my reflections because I think some of these things may apply to not just big family trips together, but also like family celebrations and holidays and all of that stuff, which is coming up. So, the first thing, expectation management is huge. Because if we're all just going to be anticipating that everyone is going to be the same as they always have been, and the same scenarios are going to play out as they always have, I mean, guess what? We're working on some self-fulfilling prophecy going on. And like if you have that sibling who always dumps their kids on you, I mean, what is going to be any different this time, right? If you think that way. Or if there's a mother who is always disappointed about something or anything or everything, like, is there any wiggle room there for anything to be different if that's kind of what you're expecting? You get it? You see where I'm going with this? Is it possible to be, or like just to engage and not be attached to too many outcomes? So, what would it feel like would be a bottom line win of what you were expecting to get out of the trip or the gathering? So, for me in Colorado, if I had focused on having like one successful outing with my immediate family or something fun, with some of the nieces and nephews or some of the other family members, then would have deemed the trip a success. And all of these like shenanigans that were going on in my brain would have just been riffraff. I just had too many expectations of other people, the environment that we were in, and what an outing would feel like if it played out how I had hoped or had not exactly turned out that way. Like I just had all these expectations about what that was going to feel like. So, too many expectations, they were too high, and I was doomed before we started. Totally screwed. Okay, the other thing that I was recognizing is that my willingness to participate in everyone else's bullshit is waning. I am less interested in being the 1990 version of Michelle who is like overly emotional, a scatterbug, trying to people please everyone, match all of their energy so everyone else feels safe and okay at the expense of my own well being and safety. It is none of my business to mastermind their lives, their expectations, or our time together. It is not my problem to solve. It's not my job to make sure everyone else is having a great time. Even if it feels super clear to me and I believe what everyone else could or should be doing to make things easier or more enjoyable, it is not my place nor my responsibility to help them to see that way too. My stepsister was so supportive in the moment of my breakdown because she was poor woman. She was the one who took the brunt of it. And because she was there with me at the cabin. And what she shared with me was that the family benefits when I leverage my strengths and I rise up. So if I'm still spinning out trying to manage everybody else's stuff, that doesn't allow me to do that. So there's still some expectation management that I need to do with myself. But when I am myself, everyone wins, especially me. Okay, something else I realized is that I need some basic structure in my day, even on vacation. It's what works for me. And an all day loosey goosey schedule does not work for me. Even if it's a Saturday, that's just like open wide, nothing to anchor the day. We don't have anything on the calendar. I completely spin out in possibility, fret about what to do next, and then don't do anything and then feel terrible about it. Like I just don't do well with that. So I need some structure. This is just how my mind is wired, and other people get to feel differently and do differently. I will say, pretending that we can be flexible and like go with the flow when there's more than two people is, in my estimation, unrealistic. When you have 22 people with various needs, interests, wants, that is just a huge recipe for the group paralysis. And I believe kind of a disaster. So I think having one planned activity where hopefully people can make it is a good idea. And having identified that in myself was huge. I was just really proud of myself for saying, this is just what I need. Okay, another thing is that I'm discovering new boundaries about what works for me and what doesn't with time together with family members. So, what works for me is to do something one on one with one sibling and family. What works for me is to fly by myself to see my dad and stepmom for a few days. And we have like a certain number of days together. There's usually a meal or activity in place. And we're not operating around this chaos of coordinating and managing my emotions with 22 people whom I love, but sometimes I am overwhelmed by. I will say with our mom, my sister and I, we do fairly well with traveling to her. There's usually a structured thing that we're doing. And like the three of us have just kind of figured it out, what works for us. And it's good. So it makes trips so much easier. I realize that I love traveling by myself and just being on my schedule, renting a car, and not staying with my dad and stepmom. It took me a little while, but I realized that if I either stay on site in a separate apartment or at a hotel, I function better and the visit goes better. But this took some huge chutzpah. Is that the right word? When my stepmom said, okay, when you come to visit, this was years ago, your dad will give up his sleeping quarters to accommodate you when you come. And I actually said out loud to her face, but on the phone, no, that actually doesn't work for me. I'd rather stay in my own place. What? I'm just telling you, game changer. It really made a difference. I don't even know if there's been any guilt slung at me. I'm rubber, you're glue. Like, I don't even receive that. I just needed my own place. A key to my success is having my own transportation. It's important to me. I will never be in a position again to rely on someone else for a ride, nor will I give up my car for the larger group and then be stuck and not able to do something that I want to do. That was like a deal breaker for me. I think the newfound boundary allows me to be in a very emotionally neutral space. So if a subject comes up that I don't want to talk about, I am able to change the subject with a family member, namely a parent who wants to drudge up something from the past. That is an old broken record. I'm just not talking about that anymore. End of story. My goal, as I'm sure yours is too, is that time with family feels nourishing and like yummy and connecting and enhancing those connections and creating memories that are meaningful and not traumatic. And it's October and we are stepping rapidly into the holidays. I don't know if you too have had some of these trips over the summer where you've come away from it saying, never again, never again. We are never doing that again. Maybe with some reflection, you can come up with your own ground rules for what's going to work for you and have the confidence to communicate it in a way it doesn't have to be hurtful or put everybody on the defense. Or maybe it does, like you're a grown up. Whatever you need to enjoy the time together because you've taken time off, you've spent money to travel, and you want to enjoy each other's company. And it's your privilege and prerogative to have some ground rules in place that are going to work for you. So I want to reiterate that I love you and I see you, and you are doing a great job. Keep up the good work. And I hope that your next family vacation does not give you PTSD.